In Ovid's Metamorphoses, he references the mythological character of Atlas multiple times. In book two, he says, Atlas becomes unequal to his freight and almost faints beneath the glowing weight. If heaven and earth and sea together burn, all must again into their chaos turn. And again, saying, Atlas could sustain the weight no longer. His shoulders failure threatened, and his neck bent, and the great axis under the great axis of the sky. I've been thinking a lot about the character of Atlas, the Greek mythological character who was damned for eternity to hold up the celestial heavens on his back. There's that image of him almost fully horizontal, holding the weight and being essentially crushed by it, um, but having to continue to try and keep that over his shoulders. And I've been thinking about it because I've noticed parallels between a lot of um, chronic somatic pain that myself and a lot of people experience in the kind of upper back area, um, often starting in the neck, then transitioning to the shoulders and the scapula and the rhomboids, which are responsible for basically keeping your head up and keeping your posture. And for me, I've had a lot of upper back pain kind of on the trapezius area, and it starts in the neck. And a lot of that is because I keep a lot of tension and anxiety and stress in those shoulder areas. And I hike them up often without even realizing it. And then at the end of the day, I'm stuck with oftentimes really excruciating pain that can last days, sometimes weeks, without relief. And you know, you get told by massage therapists and chiros and physical therapists to do all these things, roll your shoulders out, squeeze your scapula together, um, you know, uh, stretch your neck out like this, all these different things that provide relief oftentimes, and stimulate energy flow. But I've noticed for myself that the anxiety, when I'm just trying to address the pain on that level, the level of targeted stretches, exercises, the anxiety that I feel still remains. And it's often really frustrated me why that is. Why doesn't it just go away if you're doing these things that are trying to bring relief to those areas where you're holding the anxiety? Why does the anxiety still remain? And I think for me, the inquiry that I've been on is to really understand where that anxiety is coming from and what exactly it is that I'm holding. And oftentimes I'm holding essentially the infinite weight of the unknown. I'm holding future outcomes that I want to come true. I'm trying to control and manipulate um, the ambiguous grayness of life to turn it into something that's black and white. Um, I'm holding the weight of success, achievement, um, being a good person, um, and in so doing, I'm placing more weight on my shoulders that I can hold. And similarly to Atlas, that is a it's an unsustainable um, strategy, and it's unsustainable because we're not meant to hold those things of that weight. And the weight of, Atlas is holding the heavens, which contain knowledge and wisdom and spiritual essence that is not of this material world, that we cannot begin to understand, much less hold. Um, and it's this kind of um, unnatural process of something that is meant for, you know, the realms beyond Earth to be brought down to Earth. Um, and the, the kind of inversion of like the gravitational balance, if you will, between Earth and heaven. And I think similarly, when people try and put the weight of the world, and oftentimes not just like this space-time reality, like the weight of future, um, the weight of the future or the weight of the past, things that we've done in the past, guilt, shame that we have, um, things that we're still upset about, things that we haven't forgiven or let go, or things that have yet to happen that we want to happen or that we are afraid of happening. Um, we, we suffer from bad posture. We suffer from tension in our shoulders. We suffer from back pain. We suffer from all these things where we that are the symptoms of holding more than what any of us should. And I think a potential antidote to this phenomenon beyond just, physiological practice of exercises and meditation and things to calm the mind and calm the body and move the body, all these things that are essential. Um, but on a more spiritual level, I think an archetype like the magician from the major arcana of the tarot deck, something that I've been studying on the Versed literary platform that I'm a part of, could be a potential answer. So in this card, there's a magician who has a table, who's standing behind a table containing different artifacts and tools that he uses as a master of alchemy. And in one of his hands, he's holding a wand. In some decks, it's more like a staff. Um, and in some other mythologies, like, excuse me, like Egyptian mythology, it's a much longer staff. This one is a wand that's in the shape of the number one, which the word integer and integrity both come from the same etymological root, which means undivided. So this is like a completely integrated whole, um, instrument of magic. And the magician is a mediator of sorts between the heavenly realm and the earthly one. And he uses his wand to essentially receive cosmic energy from above and bring it down to below to be able to wield on Earth. And there's this. energy of play and of experimentation and of using all of the ingredients at your disposal creatively to make something new. And there's a lightness to this magician. It's not a surgical procedure. You can think of like an operating table as like a kind of almost like the antithesis of a magician's table, where the instruments are used for dissection and measurement and calculation, and it's a very systematized process. Um, Not to say that there isn't potential for creativity and play you know, in a surgery room. Um, but it's a very different orientation towards um, towards how one works or wields their instruments. And for example, in the Bible, it's kind of a corollary to the magician with their wand is in Numbers, no, sorry, Exodus, when Moses is holding up the staff before a battle, and as long as he's able to hold up the staff, the Israelites are winning, but eventually his shoulders tire, and so Aaron and Hur come and put a stone the underneath the staff and help him continue to hold up the staff. Um, and that's, a way that Moses is able to communicate with God to ensure the Israelites' victory. Um, but what I love about that image is even Moses can't hold up the staff by himself. He needs help. Um, and so there's this, yeah, there's this notion that God or the divine or the heavenly realm is able to hold so much that we as humans get trapped into thinking is ours to hold when we don't have that relationship with faith. Um, and, I think what's interesting about modern society, as opposed to, antiquity, where there was a lot more of a fiefdom structure to a lot of societies where you have a slave and a master, king and a servant relationship where, by and large, we live in free market democracies. Um, people people don't have, a Zeus damning them to hold a ridiculous weight, uh, a la toiling in the fields for 18 hours a day. Um, we've largely removed that from the world, but people still damn themselves uh, through unhealthy relationships with work, through just general unkindness towards themselves, through unruly self-critics who don't allow themselves to um, take a rest, step off of the hamster wheel, um, allow themselves not to be perfect. This like obsession with perfection in all realms of life is a way that we're cutting ourselves off from the the kind of fear or terror of like not knowing, essentially. Um, and I think the invitation is to instead of holding the heavens on our shoulders, to allow them to naturally lift back up to the sky, and then we can actually see them again, um, and get strength through knowing that over countless millennia of human evolution and of the history of the cosmos, um, people have gone through the very same things that we are going through and worrying about, and the heavens are still there. And if we're able to, instead of holding the stars on our back, not being able to see them because they're behind us, allow them to rise back into the sky, so to speak, um, we'll be able to see and have constant reminders of that. And so I think when we feel this bodily pain or the psychological pain, instead of just focusing on how to heal the body or how to heal the self, and it just be only an internal inventory, taking our wands and stretching them out and looking upwards and allowing what wants to, I don't have good words for it, and it sounds, probably super woo woo or whatever, but like to allow what is meant to be transmitted from on high down to us. And in my experience, that's always been a message of compassion, and it alleviates the burden that I hold. And I want to end on this. I heard this beautiful quote the other day from the the theologian and writer G.K. Chesterton, who wrote in his book Orthodoxy that angels can fly because they take themselves lightly. And he went on to say that Satan fell because he tried to force gravity down from, from the angelic realm down to earth. And when we allow ourselves to take ourselves lightly, instead of trying to white knuckle the world and so seriously, worry about the outcomes of things and how we're doing and how we're measuring up, and what if something bad happens? What if I'm not with the right all of these things, and just let go of that. Then we can really move through the world with greater love and greater wisdom. Um, so that's all that I wanted to share today. A meditation on Atlas. So thank you for listening.